Hello there. Today I'm going to walk you through an example of our observability-driven ModernOps demonstration, highlighting Datadog and how it integrates into major incident management for most organizations. This full demo actually showcases a lot of what RepDev has the ability to offer. We do everything from cloud services to DevOps work to integrating your Datadog and observability motions with your enterprise service management platforms like ServiceNow. In this demo, we actually have a lot of moving parts, but it's showing a live cloud native environment where we're actually going to break some code in production and then using the power of Datadog and observability, have that rapidly find the outage and help us to auto remediate it so that we can minimize the impact for the organization once that downtime occurs. So because this is a live demo, I'm actually going to switch over and make the changes to the code and let the CI/CD pipeline run while I walk you through this. So first, you'll see me come here into the application. This application is actually our Swag store. So this is an actual running production environment. You'll see this is just a Swag store, has a bunch of different products. And then what it has underneath is the recommendation service. It's actually feeding up the you may also like pieces here. We found that just doing some research that 20 to 30% of online e-commerce revenue is actually driven by services like this, the predictive recommendation services that bring up things that as clients and customers are purchasing things from your website, will also want to be seeing things they may also like so that they can drive additional revenue and upselling of given transactions. Now, this is just the example we're using for this demo, but this could correlate to any one of your production applications or systems. Downtime is critical, right? You can't have systems be down without impacting your production revenue or productivity of your clients as well as your employees. So this is the website that we're actually going to make changes to. And what you'll see after we make the push is we're actually going to break this recommendation service in a really nasty way that we wouldn't normally catch very quickly without using advanced observability like Datadog. So here you'll see me come in here. This is our demo environment. This is the code that we're actually pushing to production. And you'll see here, we have this infinite loop that we're actually going to freeze the code into. So what's going to happen is we're going to push this CI/CD pipeline out to production. It's going to go through an entire automated CI/CD pipeline with a number of different automations built in there. And then this is going to go to production. And almost immediately, this will start to throw errors that are found by observability. So first, let me go ahead and comment this line. I'm going to go ahead and edit this file. I'm not going to use an IDE. I'm just going to go do this natively since we're just making a simple change. I'm going to go ahead and comment this and make this actually true. So now you'll see that this line of code is going to go in that's actually going to just add an infinite loop. So it'll actually just sit there and churn. Now, the reason this is so nasty is because if you go through this and see, it would actually look green. And I'll show you that as we're looking at the observability. For some of the automation here, you'll see I'm going to add, just for the demo, Eric running a demo. And this is actually going to commit this into the production branch and run through GitHub Actions and do our entire CI/CD automation. So I'm going to go ahead and commit this change into production. What I put there in the front of the colon was a story ID, and that's for another component of this mechanics that help us automate the CI/CD and change management policy, which I'll explain here in a second. So now you'll see that this is actually going through. So I wrote the code and I pushed this into production. This is going to break this recommendation service, and we'll start to see that as it gets into production. Right now, we're running through an automated CI/CD pipeline. We do a bunch of things with change automation and allowing for the systems to actually gather all the information and do automated change management. So developers don't have to go to a CAB meeting for this. This change will actually go through a policy engine, and if all of these pieces are met, it will automatically be approved and go into production. And so that's actually going to take place. And as that's going on, we're also doing some RapDev componentry here with a piece of code that we've built. It's actually something we've patented called CSTM as code, or formerly known as now.yaml. This actually updates all of the tagging and service mapping within ServiceNow CSTM. So it updates all of the business groups, support groups, and everything else for your service management teams. as well as updating tagging for your Datadog implementations and adding tag-based observability in there as well. So this is then going to go into production. And as it's going into production, what'll happen is this will actually be broken. And what I often talk about is this clicking, sort of ticking time bomb of MTTR, which is mean time to resolve or mean time to repair. And it has a number of components. First, it has the mean time to detect. And this is the time that it takes me to actually realize that something is broken in production. And when I said this was a nasty outage, it is kind of nasty because when this goes to production, everything's green. The service is up and running. The recommendation service will be there. But without the specific monitors that we put into Datadog and the configuration pieces, we wouldn't normally catch this because the service isn't broken. The Kubernetes environment isn't broken. The cloud environment's not broken. There's a bunch of weird anomalies. Latency goes up, front-end services start to act weirdly because it's trying to interact with the service that's hung in a loop. But what I often say is in the past days of managing production environments with kind of poor observability, you wouldn't see this for a while. And it would actually take a human going in and realizing, oh, the website's not loading our recommendations on there. Ironically, we see that on a number of production websites, and we actually keep a running total of websites that are broken and their recommendation service is down, but they didn't catch it. And so we've actually got a pretty funny long list of those in our library already. So first, you have to figure out that something's broken. Then you have to go into the troubleshooting phase. And that's when the SRE team will take over and start to figure out what's broken. And this is where we start using a combination of AI ops, generative AI, as well as all of the observability data that we're getting from Datadog, and actually correlating all that information and multiple tools, not only Datadog, but some others like Selenium and SolarWinds and even the cloud native functions that are going on AWS or Google. And we're correlating all of those into AI ops, which then helps us to do event correlation. So lots and lots of alerts, lots and lots of noise, correlated into a single event, grouped into a single group of alerts, and then create a single incident that we can then respond to quickly. We then route that incident through generative AI and we start to do incident summarization. Once we have the summarized incident, we actually send that back out to generative AI and say, give us some troubleshooting advices. How do we fix this? All of that gets culminated and all of that work and data and all those alerts and all that information gets then sent via chat ops to an SRE team. So as that's coming in, you'll see the SRE team will actually see that this is a software issue that they can't really do anything about. So we have an automated auto remediation workflow that we have the ability to run, and that will actually roll back the environment straight from my chat ops environment. And we're kind of leveraging, the reason we call this Modern CloudOps or ModernOps is we're leveraging Kubernetes. So we're actually able to just send commands via automated workflow to the kube control, reverting the nodes back to its last known good state right before the production release went in. So that allows us to quickly remediate this and reduce the impact on production. So what normally would have taken at least hours, if not a day or two, to find the outage, and then hours or days to troubleshoot the outage, all to then point back to the root cause, which is that single line of code that I uncommented. We really end up taking all that time down to minutes, nearly seconds, if you wanted to auto remediate this and have it come to these conclusions in about 60 seconds to 90 seconds to then say, instead of even sending a note to the Teams channel, why don't you just auto remediate this? And we've got some clients that are actually asking us, just go ahead and auto remediate it since it's cloud native and send us a notification that there's a problem task created and assign that problem task to the developer to go fix their code, enter that into their backlog as an emergency break fix, and then they can start to remediate the push that they just put into production. So that's sort of the full end-to-end vision of this. And for the Datadog components specifically, I wanted to highlight in on specific aspects of how we're looking at that Swag Store environment. So first, what you'll see is we have a dashboard built for our Swag Store in Datadog. And this is the Datadog dashboard that I would say is more of an engineering leaning dashboard. This is where you're going to get a lot of engineering data. You'll see one of the most amazing things about Datadog is how smooth and how much data is just at your fingers and correlated across all these different charts. It's truly one of the most incredible interfaces that I've ever seen as far as smoothness and loading times. There's just no loading. It's all like it's memory resident, which is awesome. But this is really used more for like an engineering sort of visualization. And we kind of have the take that not only is there a need for this, dashboard for engineering and for SREs and for the folks writing the code, but there should also be a dashboard for those folks that manage the or own the environment. And that's where the SLO dashboard is. So if I open this up, you'll see, pretty quickly that there's a dashboard for the owners, the business owners, that shows all of the important business contextual stuff here about what's the past 7 days, past 30 days, past 90 days SLOs. Are we within our error budgets? How are we doing on MTTR? And you can start to really see all of the details on this. And this is where you could even probably see the amount of traffic falling off and ads being served because we've got a problem in production. So you'll see this is showing, currency. It's showing your carts. This is more of a business-driven database or dashboard versus this being more of an engineering-led sort of dashboard. So you can actually see these pieces. And you'll start to see, I'm already seeing that we're starting to push some dropped packets and starting to see some of these pieces in here just because we're doing a demo. The next piece that I wanted to show was the real magic that's actually catching this is understanding the service catalog and understanding that we've actually got a recommendation service piece here that's not functioning. So if you pull this up, we'll actually be able to see the service catalog for this application. And there's a couple of different ways to view this. One is the list, and then the other is the map view, which is, of course, the very, very clean version of this that everybody tends to love. And this is the new version, the cluster view that's actually showing data moving from the front end service through these other services like recommendation service, the ad service, the currency service, and showing how all of these things through application traces and tagging. This is where you'll see application swag store. You'll see all of the tags for environment dev. This tag-based sort of observability and trace-based correlation allows us to actually see how data flows between these services in and out of this application. So this is what allows us to see at a glance, how this is architected and how it rolls together. So this service catalog, you can also see this in the older version, kind of that most observability tools were kind of built on in the past, of kind of seeing, how everything flows through this flow diagram versus the cluster diagram. And, mostly I tend to prefer this cluster diagram just because it's very interactive and sort of cool to see it all moving. From that regard, you'll see that we have, sort of all of these pieces, built, and you'll see the monitors that we have. So as with all things Datadog, you're gathering all the data. But typically, the way to reduce the noise of all the alerts or all the data or all of the raw things that are happening in production is that we run monitors that are specifically tied to the outcome that we want to make sure that we're looking at. And in this case, you'll see that we have a synthetic monitor that's actually looking at this product. And synthetics are very cool. I have another whole set of videos and blogs that I've written about synthetics being cheat codes. Because this actual synthetic test runs through and will show you how well things are actually going. And you can see ones that have been successful. You'll see things that have failed. But specifically, when you dig into that synthetic test, you can start to actually look at the average time. You can start to see what we're doing here. And this is a web-based synthetic test that we're doing. So how that works is if I were to look at these steps, we've basically told the synthetic test that we want it to go navigate to the web page. We want it to look, and we expect to click into a product. And once we click into that product, we're expecting to see a you may also like that is populated with data. And if this isn't happening, then this synthetic test will fail. And this is really the magic. This is the thing that is basically replacing human eyes and is going out and running and actually seeing live data. And this also can be tied directly into a RUM session. So real user management, which is showing an actual session that was done, how long it took the page to load. You can see the duration of every single aspect of the steps in these pages and what it should expect for this to actually run. And so you'll see that these are all running. These are all happening in production. They're updating in real time. This one still hasn't been through the CI/CD pipeline, so it still hasn't broken anything. But that's actually how we're sort of getting that advanced piece there that's telling us that it's working. And so what you'll see now is I push this into production, and you'll start to see here that I just got this error. So this now came to me as a chat ops function, and this might be a little small, so let me make this bigger. But you'll see that now this has come to me straight through chat ops. I'm actually seeing that there is an incident created for this in our ServiceNow environment. So ServiceNow is the enterprise service management solution that most people use for their governance, risk, and compliance, for audit, for incident problem change, right? So Datadog is collecting a lot of this monitoring, doing all these synthetic tests, doing all of this cool things, and it's able to actually capture this and interact seamlessly with ServiceNow to say, hey, take all of this in as a data source into your event management, create and correlate an event management incident, and create a single incident that I can resolve throughout this. So you'll see in ChatOps, I can actually come in here and I can actually grab and understand that, hey, there's an incident going on in production. You'll see that it's created on our application. You can see all of the pieces that are happening there. And you'll see the generative AI explanation that says the number one thing is probably that there's errors in this recommendation service, a software bug. And you'll see that's also issue number 3 that's been found. One of these got found through logging. One of these got found through the synthetics feeding in. So this is really what's allowing me quickly as an SRE to go, we have a problem in production. So there's a number of ways I would then kind of react to this. One is I would see that this is our swag store. I would immediately know to go check the website. And here's where I can actually come here and I can look. And sure enough, when I refresh the site, this is broken. So we no longer have a recommendation service that's running in production. So if I then go back to my Teams channel and see this, I can click right here and go directly into my ServiceNow environment and see that incident that was created through a bunch of workflow automation, through event management, AI ops correlation between ServiceNow and Datadog, that have actually created an incident that I can drill into and actually start to identify what's going on. And so in this incident that was created, you can start to see that right out the gate that this was a group of alerts that's been created through event management. You'll see that we have the generative AI summary in here that's come through here. You'll see the affected CIs that are there that are being done as far as parts there. And then you'll see the related records in here. And this is where you'll start to kind of see the details and everything else that's happening on this specific swag store. And that's, the pieces and parts that are coming in here through those alerts. And so when I look at this incident and I start to look at that group of alerts, you can start to correlate and see with event management all of the pieces that are coming through. So here you'll see that I've got the top priority alerts that have come in, and I've looked at this through our alerting, and this is the group of alerts that you'll see that event management correlated. So if you actually look in here, you'll see that there's a number of different pieces and parts that were set off. If I actually look at the alerts in group, this is where I'll actually see, the impacted services. We've got our swag store development environment, our swag store production environment. You'll see the alerts in group. And this is where you'll start to see all of that sort of noise reduction, and you'll start to see the sources of truth. So in this case, ServiceNow started receiving information from a number of different sources. We've got Log Analytics, Zabbix, Selenium, and 2 Datadog ones. So you'll see that that's a combination of a lot of the log entry and log analysis, as well as the synthetic services and synthetic tests that we're getting. And so what you'll see is when I look at this incident, that group of alerts is getting all that knowledge in from Datadog and all the other incident sources. And it's basically correlating that into a single incident that I can go back to. Okay, so once I know that this is an incident that needs to be rolled back, again, I probably didn't even need to go into ServiceNow, but just to show you that the ServiceNow data was all there and it was all kept in there. Me as an SRE would see this and likely see that there's a code error. And so immediately I would start to look at rolling this back and auto-remediating it. So if I interact with this bot, you can see we've got our own ServiceNow bot here. And I could, if I don't know the actions that I could take, I could actually come here and talk to the bot and say, what are the actions that I can take? And this would actually start to then tell me all the different things that I can do to this. So you can see in this case, I could create an SRM incident. I could mute the alerts on this. I could actually come in here and resolve the incident, so on and so forth. So when you look through here, you could get a bunch of other data on here, but fundamentally what I'm going to want to do is just come through here and do the rollback deployment that we've got here as one of our automated. So I fat fingered one of the previous commands. So if I wanted to actually interact with this and tell it to roll back this environment, then I would actually tell it to roll back the deployment. And so it automatically asks me for a work note. And based on the work note, I would say rolling back production, um, need to fix code. And then I would send this. And this will then take and run our automated rollback on the auto remediation. So it's doing a number of things. One, it's calling Kubernetes. It's telling it to roll back the environment before the release. Two, it's actually updating the incident work notes in ServiceNow. And then I could actually do the ServiceNow work here of basically resolving the incident and being able to bring all of that as well. So here you'll see me resolve the incident, and then you'll see me basically get a quick reply for the card. And so if I get this card, I can actually come in here and it'll say, what kind of resolution do you need? And I'll say workaround provided, and I can say basically rolled back production. And then I can send this to ServiceNow, and that will actually close and resolve the incidents in the production environment there. So that will actually, you'll see that come through. And then on this side, you'll actually see that the resolution came through the chat message and is all stored in ChatOps, as you can see here. And so now that I've resolved the incident, I could also do some other things here. So I could actually go in here and I could actually tell it that I wanted to add a problem task. So I would add a problem for this, and I could actually tell it to add a problem and assign this back to the developers, which would allow me to do this. And so that related alert is now unlinked, and it basically creates that problem and that P task. So you'll see that it added a problem and it added the P task and assigned that back to the developer. So the developer knows to go look at the code. As you can see, another piece is if I came back in here and this was broken, you can actually see that the recommendation service is now showing that it's not functioning. Another key area is if I came into those synthetic tests, I should see that we now have a synthetic error that's working that just came in on June 6th here. So you'll see here, I've actually got a broken synthetic test that came through. And if I dug into the synthetics test, I can actually see when it last failed and go through and see why it failed and what happened. So you'll see 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, 6 minutes ago, all the way till 18 minutes ago when I first started this. And if I click into this, what it'll actually show me is that this is the basic playback of where it broke. And you can start to see exactly what step of the synthetic broke during the testing. And you'll see here is where it's supposed to see text and it doesn't see that text. So this is super helpful too if I stay in the Datadog side of things, where I can actually see the synthetics tests failing and I can see it that it's continuing to happen as the website is down before we remediate it. So now you'll see we've restored service to the website. And if I come through the swag store, every one of these items is now showing the recommendation service again. And as I come through here, I can actually probably start to see the synthetics coming back, and you'll see that it recovered. And so you'll see that it's starting to get those synthetic runs, that they're being successful, and we're actually able to see them passing now. So you'll see that it failed. And then once we restored service, it actually started to pass those synthetic tests and service has been restored. So here you'll see, if I go to the service catalog page, that it's restored service to the recommendation service. And now we have everything back green again after it had been read. And that's it. That's basically the end-to-end ModernOps story that we tell. And again, it correlates all back to our ability to reduce the impact of outages to near zero with MTTR, reducing all of these through automation, the leveraging AI, AIOps, generative AI, ChatOps, cloud-native technologies, Kubernetes, the entire kit and caboodle. But what's really the hero of the story is the advanced observability with Datadog. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. We can give you a live demo. You can walk through and see how we've configured and built all of this. And as is always the case, thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Thanks.